Hi, I wanted to talk to you about the Garden of Remembrance. I speak about it sometimes and then I don't realise that I don't explain what the Garden of Remembrance is. You probably do understand it too, but I just thought I'd talk about it a little bit. The Garden of Remembrance is a place we went before we came down to this life. Before every life we will go to the Garden of Remembrance, I call it, and that's where we sit with our God, our spiritual guides, the people who are with us to help us plan the next sojourn, what we're going to do, who we're going to meet, what are our soul lessons, who our children are going to be, what are the signposts in our life, what are the critical parts of our life where we have to decide which way to go, and where we're going to be and what we're going to do to burn our karma. So we sit with our guides and we plan out the next life. The life we're doing next, and I'm talking in human time, will have a lot to do with the life we've just come from. For example, if we had a past life and we did not do what we were supposed to do and we left with a lot of unfinished business, in the Garden of Remembrance we will address that and then find ways in the next life to give another opportunity to fix it up. A lot of karma is burned by talking about it with our guides. Like everything, it sounds pretty easy when we're sitting there. Oh, yes, we can do that. Oh, yep, I can do that. Oh, yeah, no worries, I'll do that. But when we get down here, I think some of us have thought we actually said yes to too many things. And perhaps we took off a little bit more than we should have. Perhaps we made too many difficult lessons. Maybe we tried to burn off too much karma. We can always choose because we have free will. So even when we sit in the Garden of Remembrance and make up that we're going to do all these things with our guides, when we come down here, we will still have free will and choose. Of course, we will be nudged. I was nudged, and that's why I had my big accident at 42 and crossed over, because I wasn't going the right way, and they were giving me another chance on a spiritual level to come back and do it the way I was supposed. I'd said I would do it for the sake of contract. Having brought up the sacred contract means that the sacred contract is something that we make with our guides. It is actually a very high level contract, and it usually has to do with some kind of spiritual work or mission we've said we're going to do. It's not so much a personalised thing like we're going to learn about forgiveness or burn the karma with the person who was our mum last time, who's now our daughter. The sacred contract is made in the Garden of Remembrance. It's the promise we made to God, basically. And it's what we said we were going to do. And that will be talked about a lot because our whole life will be geared to the sacred contract. We don't always do a sacred contract. Sometimes we have what I call the rest and recreation life, probably every 4 and 5 lives. And I will do a podcast on that actually, in which we just come down here, enjoy ourselves, just be human, only have a few little lessons, burn a little bit of karma. It's a very easy life and it's given as respite. So if you've done a lot of difficult lives, you might just choose to have a life that's a little bit easier than the 4 lives you had before. In the Garden of Remembrance, we are agreeing, we are talking, they know us, we know them. We've probably done it many times with this group of guides. Then we will come and be born. That's the actual problem, because when we're born, we actually forget. So we have forgotten everything that we said we'd do, we've forgotten about the people, and we forget on purpose because we need to forget, so we come in fresh and learn the lesson. Otherwise we will preempt everything. Sometimes we have an echo, I call it an echo memory, a soul echo, where we do know things. I always knew I'd have a house and there were rainbow lights, I suppose prisms were hanging in the house and they were darting on the walls, because I love that. And I did get that. I always knew that I would have children, I knew that. And I always knew about the books, that I would write these books. So that was all about the information that I'd made that contract. So these echoes will be there, but we won't have a real understanding of what it is. You'll sometimes hear children say that they're going to be famous and they're going to be a dancer, or they're going to be good at science and they're going to discover something. And the echo is there because they've only been from the light fairly shortly, and they know this. Everyone thinks, oh, whatever, but often those are remembering from this. The people are remembering from the Garden of Remembrance. In this garden, it's easy. We sit there, we make all the plans, we agree to all the things. But once we hit the denseness of the earth and the complexities of living here, it becomes much more difficult. And often we don't have the feeling of being close to spirit, especially when we first come down, we do, but then as we grow, I think once we get to about 9 or 10, it's becoming less and less. And so we really feel we can be feeling like we're doing it alone. If you've been brought up with a lot of faith, you'll have that. However, most people will find that they feel lost down here at times, not quite sure what they're supposed to be doing. Signs will usually be given, but even having said that, because we've forgotten most everything we said we'd do in the Garden of Remembrance, now we're a little bit on our own. The Garden of Remembrance is a place where we still have free will. So even when we're agreeing, we also are collaborating with our guides, but we also ultimately have the free will to decide what we will or won't do. I think we do this every life before we come. And then when we die, we have another one, which we do the debriefing and go to the healing rooms. And I'll do a podcast on the healing rooms. So that's afterwards when we can look at our lives. You will find the Garden of Remembrance very interesting. I thought it was beautiful when I was told about it, and I loved what they called it because it felt so serene and full of love and life. So you can ask to get some memories from your Garden of Remembrance to help to keep you on track. Hope you enjoyed this podcast because I actually love the Garden of Remembrance. Sending you love and light.